your preferencing at the moment is open, and so this will hopefully help you in your deliberations about opting into school rural health. Okay, so the 3B program, that's just pretty much lifted out of the handbook. In rural health, it's the same content. It's just delivered over a 12-month period rather than in rotations. And it's a blend of clinical placements and structured learning activities. So yeah, it is a full 2-semester or 36-week program. We operate out of two regions, if you like, and there are 5 sites in that. You've got the Northwest Victoria, of Bendigo and Mildura, and in Gippsland, the 3B programs are out of Sale, Traralgon and Warragul. So some of this you'll have seen because the content is partly the same in the PowerPoint that was shared by Jodie Vickers on Moodle. But essentially the first step is you need to opt in to rural. And as part of that process, you submit special requirements, and we'll talk about special requirements in a minute. But yes, basically need to submit those at the very start. Those special requirements are used to inform placement decisions all through the process. So get it in up front and then we can work with that. After you've been allocated to the School of Rural Health, we have a round of preferencing where you get to preference the sites that you want in order from 1 to 5, if you're not an ERC student, and we'll talk about the tick, but basically you get to preference the site you would rather do or you'd like to do your placement at. And then placements, provisional placements are announced shortly after exams. So that's a broad overview of what's going to happen over the next little while. Special requirements are things like major health problems. And again, this is lifted straight out of what you've already seen. Being a parent of a dependent child, involvement in the elite student performance scheme, or being a registered carer for a dependent. That has to be a registered carer. What isn't considered a special requirement is lack of transport, all these things, work schedules, relationships without dependents, etc., etc. These are fairly standard. They've been the requirement for many years. Once you've got through that and you're in the School of Rural Health, you get, if you're an ERC student, you've agreed to doing placements in the northwest of Victoria. So your choices are between Mildura or Bendigo for year 3. If you're not in the ERC cohort, then you can preference across the whole school. So that's Northwest and Gippsland, bearing in mind that places are taken up by the ERC first in the Northwest. What we'd like you to give us though is other information to help with that preferencing process. And this isn't binding in any way for us, but it gives us some idea of why you'd like to go where you want to go. We do offer a limited degree of friendship group placements. That doesn't mean you can choose 10 of your best buddies and say, I'd like to go to Bendigo or Bairnsdale. It's really to give you some flexibility given it's your first long-term placement. But yeah. And we had a situation this year where we weren't aware of a scholarship, which was dependent on being placed rural. So if you can make sure you include that sort of information as well. Some of our guiding principles for allocation is that we look at the special requirement cases first. Then we've got repeating students who need to be returned to the same site. And as I said before, we fill the ERC places first because they've got only 2 options to work with. And then we fill in the remaining places across the Northwest and with Gippsland. We can't guarantee that all your requests will be met. From experience though, in year 3, it is unlikely that you'll get lower than the 3, that third preference. But yes, we can't guarantee anything at all. So the questions come up, does this apply to somewhat to ERC as well? So with the ERC, you'll have the choice of 2 sites, Bendigo or Mildura. Okay, so once provisional allocations are advised, within the School of Rural Health, we do offer the ability to have a one-to-one swap with someone. So if for whatever reason you've ended up somewhere that you'd like to be with someone else, if that makes sense, we will allow a one-to-one swap. That's not a daisy chain effect. It's pretty much a person A goes into swaps with person B who are in opposite sites, in different sites. And all this is explained in an email that gets sent out when the provisional allocations are made. What's it like and where will I live? Let's answer the second one first. You have access to Monash Rural Health Accommodation at each of our sites. And there's a common price or subsidised price of $105 a week, which includes everything except food. Pretty much, so you've got utilities, furnishings and Wi-Fi, that's all included. In Bendigo, you're in dorm accommodation at Lister House. At other sites, it's in a shared house accommodation. And as the last point there is, in most cases, you can walk to your placement. It's country, or regional Victoria. So the panelists are going to talk to their different experiences and be able to answer your questions about experiences, because I can't do that. But we also have a wide range of resources. It's like a YouTube channel. You'll be sent a comprehensive matrix about the rural health program after this. And there's also the comprehensive Moodle placement guide that's been posted to Moodle. So lots of information for you to digest. Yeah, we're always here to be able to answer your questions. So yes, the roll account, which you may or may not be familiar with, for us is rural.health at monash.edu. And there, my contact details and Laura, who's the Rural Health Education Manager, her contact details are there. And if you're thinking about careers and what options you've got available, then head over to the regional training hubs at that link below, and you'll get sent this PowerPoint with the links in it.